Nothing ever happens. That's kind of my opinion with Dead by Daylight recently, and that's what 9.6.0 has really cemented. For those that are unaware, 9.6.0 just launched for the game, and it has changed nothing. Unless you run one of 3 builds. To put it simply, I'm really tired of playing DBD, and a lot of it has to do with me, if you've seen on the channel, recently swapping to playing a lot of Deadlock. And Deadlock is a game made by Valve that is in closed beta, and due to whatever reason, gets updates constantly, changes constantly, and actively listens to feedback very, very well. Someone pitched an idea to change Mina, a vampire character's parry animation, and that was changed 3 days later to that person's suggestion. Dead by Daylight has had people say 10 years ago that Sprint Burst is overtuned and needs to be nerfed, and they are 10 years later and the perk has gotten 0 changes. So I'm just kinda sick of playing this game. So in 9.6.0, what exactly is new? Well, good news is that you have buffs for Doctor, Cannibal, Ghostface, Demo, Dredge, Wesker, Skull Merchant, got a quality of life thing, Unknown, and Springtrap, with some minor Springtrap nerfs that don't really matter. The thing is, every single one of these things is like 1 or 3 lines max of just changing basic math, and I'm really confused why this couldn't have come in 9.5.0 with the Trickster changes, because there was nothing else in that update that mattered. So a lot of this basic math stuff that they tried hyping up in the community stream, and then we're like, we're not going to talk about it because we want you guys to see and be excited for when it's out. And in reality, I think it's because Dredge's buff was increased movement speed while charging Reign of Darkness to 4 meters a second was 3.8. That's it. So in reality, it's we have nothing to talk about situation. And these number lines, just straight up, are good. Blight and Nurse getting nerfed? Awesome. These are all good changes. People have been asking for these changes for a while. These changes could also be done in a bug fix, because they are basic math changes. You can't tell me that they couldn't have done it literally last week, on changing Bubba's increased maximum chainsaw sweep to 5.45 from 5.35. You can just do that in a bug fix. We don't need a PTB for that. If the character is overtuned, kill switch them, revert it next bug fix. It's not hard. I don't know why we struggle to just change stuff and we have to go through these ginormous PTBs that people get excited for that then have nothing in them. Like, in the terms of stuff that isn't relating, like Fast Track got nerfed as well, by the way. Huge. Fast Track is overtuned right now. Why is this not a bug fix? It literally lowered from a 2% to a 1%. Just bug fix that. I don't know why we have to do a PTB for it. The stuff that actually requires a PTB and make sure it's all, good and ready for the update is fine. Like more aura colors, I can understand, or not colors, options for like killer objects, marked elements, surface elements, like gens being hit by deja vu or eruption. That makes sense for a PTB because that is something new. That is something that has a different line of code that you have to actually make sure is all good for people to look at. So like more stuff in spectator mode, being able to hover over stuff. We don't want that to be buggy for the casual players who don't play the PTBs. Progress bar update, that's whatever. Diminishing returns, that is actually something you need to test. Like, you genuinely need to test that. Is the diminishing returns good? Is it something that they need to change before live? Does it overly impact some perks more than others? What perks can they start looking at in PTBs for them to change? Like botany knowledge probably needs to get tuned down, but in retrospect we could probably buff desperate measures already, or buff the healing from resilience or something like that. That stuff makes sense to start getting data on now from a testing environment where people are encouraged to, test things. The visible team perks is also good because you want to make sure the UI looks, you want to make sure, like, some people don't like that you can see the killer, who the killer is instantly when loading in, so they can change it like first chase or first injure instead. And that would be, a good thing for PTB feedback right before it hits live. And a lot of this stuff is quality of life or changes actual, like, gameplay in the terms of diminishing returns for the game. That makes sense for a PTB. But a lot of the killer changes, just bug fix them. I don't understand why we have a PTB for those. I could understand PTB for Trickster changes. Trickster got a massive rework recently in 9.5.0. That makes sense for a PTB. Completely changed how the character worked. in quotations, it's let's run me down and actually use knives. That's it, but that's still pretty major. Or like new killer releases, Taeyong, when he launched the last patch, he should have a PTB for character animations, perks, that like stuff. But really, we don't need PTBs for weekly killer changes. I think it makes changes take longer to do, and it makes it less likely for people to experiment. Because could you imagine if, like, next week, bug fix, they just buff Krazu? Like, just once. Infection rate is boosted by 5 seconds. It's 5 seconds faster. And that's it. Is that going to get more people to play Krazu? Maybe. See if it makes her feel a little bit better for, like, content creation or make a short on it. Is that going to make Krazu mains happy? Yeah, it buffs their character a little bit. And it doesn't really overly impact the game. Every single one of these killer changes in this PTB is that. It doesn't overly impact the game, it just changes things. It also means that when you nerf an S tier, like Blight or Nurse, where you nerf the add-on, it doesn't mean for the next 3 weeks before this PTB hits live that I am constantly facing Blights and Nurses who are running the stuff before it gets nerfed. Now for Blight, it's base kit, so people are just playing Blight. But for Nurse, it is a specific add-on, so everyone's just running Last Breath because it's getting nerfed to reduce her blink lunge distance. But if they did it in a bug fix, it just gets nerfed, and people have to go, oh shit, it got nerfed. And then there's a fun little testing phase for Nurse players. I really want to motivate behavior to do things in bug fixes that we don't need PTBs for, because Sprint Burst needs a nerf. Sprint Burst is the best perk in the game, just hands down. It is the best gen perk because it lets you do gens in bad position and then get away right as the killer catches up to you to a safe tile, even if you have bad positioning. It is the best healing perk because it lets you clutch up heals and then run away so that the killer doesn't get the injury immediately, and then they have to do a normal chase. It is the best chase perk because it lets you reach a safe tile every single chase, etc, etc, etc. It needs a change, and I proposed on the forums that all they really need to do is change it to 120 seconds of exhaustion until a further change, rework, or whatever happens. It's also why I'm just spinning this video ranting, because there's nothing in this PTB to talk about. Some killers get basic buffs, nothing on Survivor changes again, and that's it. Please, just for a bug fix, anniversary, whatever, just change the Survivor meta. I don't even care if it's buffing every single other perk to be on par with Sprint Burst. I am just tired of loading into DBD, seeing the map I got, knowing exactly how the match is gonna go because I already know what perks the survivors have because it's been the same thing for the past 8 years. And then just knowing the end result unless the survivors are stupid. Most of the time the survivors are stupid, so lucky. But I'm bored of playing. This is probably gonna be the last DBD PTB video I make for a while. I might cover Anniversary Killer because it's probably Jason and thus easy clickbait, but always like I'm done, bro. I'm going to the Montreal event, and I've already told people, I think after that I might just uninstall. Like, I might just become full Deadlock. I like Deadlock. What a good game. They listen.